Okay, imagine this. Your son's high school prom, you've got the dinner reservations, everything meticulously planned, corsage is ready to go,
Yeah.
and then bam, the kids decide they want tacos in the pouring rain.
Oh, wow.
That was the aha moment that sparked Mel Robbins's let them theory.
Yeah.
And guess what? It might just change your life too.
That's pretty amazing how everyday situations can lead to these big shifts, right?
Right. Welcome to Beyond the Pages podcast, where we believe the right book can literally change everything.
Absolutely.
Today, we're diving deep into Mel Robbins' The Let Them theory.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about how letting go of that need to control others can unlock a more fulfilling life for all of us.
I think this is a concept that everyone really struggles with, wanting to control situations and people in our lives,
Oh, absolutely.
even when we know it's not possible or even healthy.
For sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's unpack the core idea here.
Yeah.
Robbins breaks it down into two parts.
Okay.
First, there's let them.
Right. So that means let them think and feel and do what they want.
Okay.
And recognizing that we can't actually control other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about accepting that everybody has their own agency.
Yeah, it's like acknowledging that everybody's on their own unique journey, and we can't force them to follow our paths.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the second part is let me.
Right.
So that's about reclaiming our own power then.
Exactly. Precisely. Yeah.
Okay.
Shifting our focus inward and taking responsibility for our own reactions, our choices, and our actions.
That sounds empowering.
It is.
Instead of trying to control the external world,
Yeah.
which is often impossible,
A lot of times. Yeah.
we're going to focus on what we can actually influence ourselves.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the big shift.
I can already see how that leads to less stress and more fulfilling relationships.
Definitely. And what I love about how she writes is that she gives us real life examples
Yes.
that we can all relate to.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about, you mentioned the prom, her son's prom.
Yeah. And she was so caught up in making sure everything was perfect
Oh, yeah.
that she kind of missed the opportunity to just enjoy the moment with her son.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Oh, for sure.
Especially, as parents, you want things to go a certain way.
Yes.
But sometimes you just got to let go of the expectation a little bit.
Yeah, and find the joy in the unexpected.
Exactly, like tacos in the pouring rain.
Exactly.
Yay.
She also talks about her experience with social media anxiety.
Oh, yes. She was afraid to post about her speaking career for 2 whole years
Oh, no.
because of what people might think.
Yeah, and so many of us face that,
Oh, I know.
especially today.
Yeah.
With social media, there's so much pressure
Oh, yeah.
to present this perfect image online,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be paralyzing.
But what's so inspiring is that she eventually embraced let them in that context too. She let go of that fear and she focused on sharing her message with the world.
Right.
And she built a successful business. It's really about trusting ourselves and our journey.
Absolutely. And that applies to so many areas, not just social media,
Yeah,
career, relationships, everyday decisions.
absolutely.
Robbins provides some really great strategies for using let them to navigate those moments when we feel our stress levels rising.
Oh, I love this.
Whether it's a long line at the grocery store, a frustrating coworker, a delayed flight, she gives us tools to manage our reactions and stay focused on what we can control.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in those little annoyances
For sure.
and let them ruin our day.
Totally.
But she reminds us that we have a choice.
Okay.
We can either let those external factors control our emotions, or we can choose a more intentional response.
So how do we do that? Sometimes it feels like my stress response just takes over.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the tools that she highlights is the power of deep breathing.
Okay.
And I know it sounds very simple, but when we consciously slow down our breath, it actually helps to calm our nervous system and shift us out of that fight or flight mode.
Yeah, it's easy to forget in the heat of the moment, though.
Oh, it takes practice. It does, but it's a powerful technique.
Okay.
She also suggests that we can ask ourselves a few key questions when we're feeling stressed, like, will this matter in an hour? Will this matter in a week? Will this matter in a year?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
It puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it's like zooming out and seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Often those things that feel so important in the moment fade away so quickly.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And by recognizing that,
Yeah.
we can choose to respond with more calmness and intention.
Love that.
Right. So it's not just everyday stressors, but she also delves into these more complex relationships like family dynamics.
Family dynamics.
Yeah, which can be really challenging
Absolutely.
because they are often loaded with expectations, history, and deeply ingrained patterns.
Totally.
And she talks about using let them to navigate those tricky dynamics, especially when it comes to step-parent and stepchild relationships.
Okay, yeah, that can be really complex.
It can be incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Robbins reminds us that it's so important to let stepchildren grieve the loss of the family structure they once knew,
Oh,
because they might even see the step-parent as a threat,
oh, yeah.
competing for time and attention from their biological parent.
That's such an important perspective
Yeah.
to remember.
And so instead of trying to force a connection,
Hmm.
she encourages step-parents to operate with a let me mindset,
Okay.
focusing on building trust and rapport over time.
Okay.
It's about being a supportive presence without overstepping those boundaries.
I think that's valuable advice for anyone navigating blended families, letting go of that need to control the situation
Yeah.
and focusing on building genuine connections.
Right. And speaking of connections, Robbins also explores the challenges of adult friendships,
Okay.
particularly what she calls the great scattering.
The great scattering. What is that?
Well, it's that natural shift in friendships that happens as we move through different life stages.
Okay.
As adults, we get busy with our jobs and relationships, families, and sometimes it becomes harder to maintain those close connections that we had when we were younger.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right. It's a common experience.
Yeah.
And Robbins provides some advice on how to navigate it using the let them philosophy.
Hey,
She emphasizes the importance of going first in making connections,
going first, what does that look like?
taking the initiative to reach out to people,
Okay.
invite them to do things,
Hmm.
and just generally be the one to extend that hand of friendship.
So don't wait for others to reach out. Be the one to make the first move.
Exactly. And it can be as simple as sending a text message,
Hmm.
making a phone call,
Yeah.
or suggesting a coffee date.
Okay.
Robbins reminds us that we often have more agency in building our social lives than we realize.
Yeah.
We don't have to just be passive observers.
Mm.
We can actively create the connections we want.
It takes the pressure off of waiting for others to initiate.
It does.
Yeah.
And it puts us back in the driver's seat.
I like that.
Right. And it aligns perfectly with the let me mindset.
Absolutely.
It's about taking ownership of our social lives and choosing to cultivate the relationships that bring us joy.
Okay, so we've covered how let them can help us manage stress, navigate family dynamics, build stronger friendships.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when we want to motivate someone to make a positive change in their lives?
Yeah.
That can be a tricky situation.
It definitely can be.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We see someone we care about struggling, and we want to help them get back on track.
Totally. Whether it's someone's health, career, or personal choices, it's natural to want the best for the people we love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But as Robbins points out,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our good intentions can backfire.
Oh, yeah.
When we try to pressure or force someone to change,
Yes.
it often creates resistance and it can even damage the relationship.
I've definitely experienced that.
Right. It's like the more you push, the more they dig in their heels.
Yes, exactly.
So instead of pushing, Robbins offers a different approach.
Okay.
One that aligns with the let them philosophy.
Mm.
It's about respecting their autonomy and allowing them to make their own choices,
Yeah.
even if we don't agree with them.
That sounds tough, especially when you see someone making choices that are harmful to themselves or others.
It can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But Robbins emphasizes that our role is not to control their behavior,
Okay.
but to offer support and encouragement.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well,
How do we support someone without enabling those negative behaviors?
one of the strategies that she highlights is the power of modeling the behavior that we want to see.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so instead of lecturing or criticizing,
Nice.
we can focus on living our own lives in a way that reflects the values and choices that we want to encourage in others.
So it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
Got it.
And it can be surprisingly effective. When people see us making positive choices, it can inspire them to do the same.
Yeah. It's like showing, not telling.
Exactly. Are there any other strategies she recommends?
Yeah. Are there any other strategies?
Another powerful technique is positive reinforcement.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on what someone's not doing, We can celebrate their progress, no matter how small it is.
Okay.
And this creates a more supportive environment where change feels achievable.
It's like catching them doing something right rather than constantly pointing out their mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So she actually provides a framework for having these conversations called the ABC loop.
ABC loop. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me about this.
So it starts with A, apologize.
Okay,
And this sets a tone of respect and acknowledges that you may have been overstepping boundaries in the past.
that's a great first step. It sets the stage for a more open and honest conversation.
It does. Then B, back off.
Back off. Okay.
Give the person space to process their own thoughts and feelings without feeling pressured or judged.
It's about respecting their autonomy and giving them that freedom to make their own choices.
Yes, exactly. And finally, C,
Okay.
celebrate progress while continuing to model the change you want to see.
So it's about offering encouragement and support without trying to control the outcome.
Yes. And Robbins emphasizes that this approach is rooted in neuroscience and motivational psychology.
Wow.
Yeah. It's about understanding how the brain works
Okay.
and using that knowledge to create conditions for lasting change.
That's fascinating. So instead of trying to force someone to change, we can create an environment that encourages and supports positive growth.
Right. And while we can't guarantee that someone will change,
Yeah.
we can increase the likelihood by approaching the situation with empathy,
Mhm.
respect,
Yeah.
and a willingness to let go of the need to control the outcome.
Okay, so now Robbins also addresses those incredibly difficult situations where loved ones are struggling with addiction or mental health challenges.
Yes, these are situations that can be incredibly heartbreaking and challenging for everyone involved.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I imagine Let Them plays a crucial role in those situations too.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Robbins warns against enabling behaviors,
Yeah.
emphasizing the importance of letting individuals face the natural consequences of their actions, even if it's painful to watch.
Oh, that must be so hard to do.
It can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But Robbins explains that when we constantly rescue someone from their problems, it can actually prevent them from hitting rock bottom,
Yeah.
that crucial point where they might finally be ready to seek help.
So it's about allowing them to experience the full impact of their choices.
It's about setting healthy boundaries and allowing them to take responsibility for their own lives.
That makes sense, though. It doesn't make it any easier emotionally, I'm sure.
It's definitely not easy.
No.
But Robbins emphasizes the importance of providing compassionate support while respecting boundaries and autonomy.
Okay.
It's about saying, I love you and I believe in you, but I can't fix this for you.
Wow. That's such a delicate balance.
It is. It is. And Robbins encourages us to focus on what we can control in these situations.
Mhm.
Our own reactions, our choices, and our actions.
Yeah.
And she suggests that we ask ourselves, what is within my power to do?
So instead of trying to control the other person's behavior,
Yes.
we focus on managing our own responses and actions.
Exactly.
Okay, and that might involve connecting them with resources, attending support groups together, or simply being a listening ear.
Right. It's about offering support without enabling.
That's a really helpful distinction.
It is.
And it seems like a theme that runs throughout the let them theory, focusing on what we can control ourselves and letting go of the things we can't, other people's choices and behaviors.
You got it. And that leads us to the let me era,
Okay.
a powerful call to prioritize our own dreams, goals, and happiness.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's about shifting our focus from others to ourselves.
Yes. And Robbins argues that this shift allows for more intentional living, focused on self-acceptance and fulfillment.
It's like giving ourselves permission to put our own needs and desires first,
It is. It is.
which can be a radical act of self-love.
It can definitely be.
Yeah.
And it often requires letting go of expectations that no longer serve us.
Okay.
Expectations from family, society, even from ourselves.
It's about embracing our authentic selves and creating a life that truly aligns with our values and aspirations.
Exactly. And before we explore Let Me era in more depth,
Okay.
I think it's time for a quick break.
Right.
We'll be right back to unpack the rest of Mel Robbins' Let Them theory in just a moment. Welcome back to Beyond the Pages.
Where we're breaking down the power of Let Them with Mel Robbins' super insightful book.
Yeah, and how embracing this philosophy can really transform not only our relationships, but our own lives as well.
Absolutely. Before the break, we were talking about applying Let Them to external situations like stress,
Right.
family dynamics, even motivating change in others.
Mm-hmm.
But now I want to shift gears and talk about what Robbins calls the Let Me era, where we turn our focus inward,
Okay.
and reclaim our own power.
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued by this part.
me too.
It seems like Let Me is all about self-discovery and setting boundaries
Hmm.
and prioritizing our own well-being.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good.
It's about recognizing that we actually have more control over our lives than we think we do, but we give that power away
Oh, for sure.
by trying to control everything and everyone around
I
us.
think that's a trap we all fall into.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world.
We get so focused on all those external factors
Yeah.
that we forget to nurture our own needs and desires.
Right, exactly.
So how do we break free from those external pressures and step into this Let Me era? Does Robbins offer any guidance on that?
She does. She does.
Okay.
And it starts with asking ourselves some powerful questions like, what are my dreams? What brings me joy? And what do I want to create in this life?
Those are good
And
questions.
they're powerful.
Yeah, they really force you to look inward and define what really matters to you, not what society or other people expect of us.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a mindset of obligation and external validation to a mindset of self-discovery and empowerment.
I love that shift.
Yeah.
It's like taking back the reins of our own lives and choosing to create a path that feels authentic and fulfilling.
It is. It is.
Okay.
And it's not always easy.
I'm sure it's not.
Right, because it often means letting go of expectations that no longer serve us. Expectations from family, friends, even from ourselves.
That makes sense. Yeah. We might have to disappoint some people or challenge the status quo to truly embrace our authentic selves.
And it can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It can be uncomfortable, but as Robbins reminds us, living in alignment with our true selves
Yeah.
is ultimately more rewarding than trying to fit into a mold that doesn't feel right.
100%. Now, in this Let Me era, does Robbins address this issue of comparison?
She does.
Because I feel like that can really hold us back
I know.
from pursuing our own goals and dreams.
It can. She acknowledges that comparison is a human tendency,
Yeah.
and it's a real source of pain, insecurity, and self-doubt.
Oh, tell me about it. Social media doesn't help with that either.
It does not.
Yeah.
But she offers a really interesting perspective on it. She suggests that instead of letting it torture us,
Okay.
we can actually use it as a tool for learning and growth.
Wait, how do we do that? How can comparison be a good thing?
Well, she encourages us to shift our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance.
Okay.
So instead of feeling threatened by other people's successes,
Yeah.
we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this person? What strategies can I adopt?
Oh, that's good.
How can their achievements inspire me to take action?
It's powerful.
Right?
It takes the sting out of comparison and turns it into a source of motivation and inspiration.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that someone else's success
Yeah.
doesn't diminish our own potential.
Right.
In fact, it can be evidence that what we desire is possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds us that there's enough room for everyone to shine and achieve their goals.
Exactly, exactly. And speaking of shining,
Yeah.
Robbins also emphasizes the importance of expressing our authentic selves.
Okay.
In the Let Me era, this means pursuing our passions, sharing our unique gifts with the world,
Yeah.
and letting go of that fear of judgment.
I think that can be really challenging for a lot of people,
Oh, it can.
especially when we've been conditioned to play it safe and fit in.
Yeah, she encourages us to step outside of our comfort zones, embrace vulnerability, and trust that the right people will appreciate us for who we truly are.
And she talks about her own struggles with social media anxiety too, right?
Yeah, she was afraid to post about her business for years
Yeah.
as a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
But she realized that by hiding her true self,
Yeah.
she was limiting her reach and impact.
Right.
And she really encourages us to let them think what they want
Yeah.
and focus on sharing our message with the world.
That's very inspiring. It's a reminder that we don't need everyone's approval to pursue our dreams and make a difference.
We don't. And this ties back to the core message of the let them theory.
Okay.
True power comes not from controlling the external world,
Mm-hmm.
but from mastering our internal landscape,
Okay.
our thoughts, our emotions, and our responses to the world.
It's about focusing on what we can control
Yes.
and letting go of that illusion that we can control everything and everyone around us.
And that leads us to another important concept that Robbins explores.
Okay.
This idea of fixed versus flexible aspects of our lives.
Fixed versus flexible. Okay. Tell me more about that.
All right, so fixed aspects are those things that we can't change,
Okay.
like our height, our genetics, or certain circumstances from our past.
Got it.
Flexible aspects are those areas where we have agency,
Okay.
like our habits, our mindsets, and the choices we make every day.
So let them
Yeah.
applies to those fixed aspects.
Yeah.
And let me is about focusing on what we can influence, those flexible areas.
Okay.
Robbins challenges us to stop wasting energy obsessing over those fixed aspects,
Yeah.
like comparing ourselves to others, dwelling on past mistakes, or wishing things were different.
We're all guilty of that.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
But she reminds us that true freedom comes from accepting those things that we can't control and channeling our energy into those areas where we can make a difference.
That's where the let me mindset really shines.
Yeah,
It's about taking ownership of our potential and believing in our ability to shape our own future.
absolutely. This is making me realize how much power we give away
Me too.
by trying to control things that are ultimately outside of our control.
I know it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it prevents us from fully embracing the present moment
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying the journey.
You know, Robbins also talks about the importance of taking action.
Yes, she does.
It's not just about having this let me mindset,
Mm-hmm.
but also putting it into practice.
Yes. She emphasizes that change doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's a process.
That requires commitment, patience, and a willingness to embrace discomfort.
I appreciate that she doesn't sugarcoat it. Real change takes effort and consistency.
Oh, it does. It does.
Okay.
And she stresses the importance of celebrating those small wins along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Those moments that remind us that we're moving in the right direction,
Yeah.
even if it's just one small step at a time.
You know, those small wins are so important for building momentum and staying motivated.
They are.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get discouraged if we're only focused on the end goal.
Right, exactly.
And Robbins reminds us that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about enjoying the process of growth and learning, even when it's messy and uncomfortable.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of needing to have everything figured out
Mm-hmm.
and allows us to embrace the imperfections of the journey.
It does, and it aligns with the let me mindset.
Yep.
It's about trusting ourselves, taking action, and enjoying the ride, even when it gets bumpy.
Okay, so this let me concept is so powerful. It's about reclaiming our power, setting healthy boundaries, and prioritizing our own well-being.
It is. It is.
And ultimately, it's about creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling, a life that reflects our true selves and our deepest desires.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
As we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts
Yeah.
on what stood out to you the most from the let them theory.
You know, for me, it was the transformative power of letting go.
Okay.
When we release that need to control everything and everyone around us,
Yeah.
we create space for something really magical to happen, a life that is more aligned, more joyful, and more meaningful.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the best thing we can do is simply let go
Yeah.
and trust in the unfolding of our own unique journey.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Beyond the Pages.
Where we've been exploring the transformative power of let them.
And really discovering how this simple yet profound philosophy can revolutionize our relationships and our lives.
It can.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
Yeah, we have.
from navigating everyday stressors to the complexities of family dynamics, the nuances of romantic relationships.
All of it.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
And I think through it all, one central theme has emerged: the importance of letting go of the need to control things that are ultimately outside of our control.
It's so true.
And I think as we embrace that concept of let them,
Yeah.
we naturally shift our focus inward,
Yeah.
creating space for the let me era to unfold.
Exactly.
I think that's where the real magic happens, right?
That's when the magic happens.
When we stop trying to force outcomes and instead prioritize our own well-being and self-discovery.
The let them theory is not just about improving our relationships with others. It's also about cultivating a healthier and more fulfilling relationship with ourselves.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to finally put our own needs and desires at the forefront.
It is.
And Robbins reminds us that we are not responsible for other people's happiness.
Right.
We are responsible for our own.
We are.
That's such a liberating realization. It frees us from the burden of trying to fix,
Absolutely.
manage, or control everyone around us.
I think that's huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And it allows us to focus on creating a life that's truly aligned with our values, our passions, and our vision for the future.
Absolutely.
Robbins doesn't shy away from acknowledging that this journey of self-discovery and empowerment can be challenging at times.
Of course, it takes courage to let go of those old patterns.
Yeah.
You know, step outside our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
But she also reminds us that we're not alone in this journey.
Not at all.
We have within us the strength, the resilience, and the support that we need to create the lives we desire.
And she provides so many practical tools
Yes.
and strategies for tapping into that inner power.
Yes. From the 5-second rule
Yes.
to the ABC loop
Absolutely.
to the power of positive self-talk.
I love it.
It's about recognizing that we have agency,
We do.
that we can choose our responses,
Yeah.
and that with each step we take,
Mm-hmm.
we're creating a more fulfilling and authentic life.
It's a process.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the Let Them theory, I want to leave our listeners with a powerful quote from Mel Robbins
Okay.
that I think really captures the essence of this philosophy.
Okay, I love this one. She writes, "You've wasted so many years being consumed with other people, their feelings, their thoughts, and what they're doing. So let this book be your wake-up call. You are in charge."
Wow, those words are so empowering.
They are.
They remind us that we have the power to choose our own path, create our own happiness, and build a life that's truly our own.
And that's the beauty of let them.
Yes.
Releasing that need to control the external world and embracing the power that we have within.
So if there's one message I hope you take away from this deep dive, it's this. Let go of what you can't control.
Yes.
Embrace the power you have within
Yeah.
and create a life that makes you proud.
You don't have to do it alone.
No, you don't.
We're here to support you every step of the way.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Let Them theory, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful book discussions and practical tips for personal growth.
Absolutely. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might benefit from the power of let them.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And until next time, keep exploring those books that can change everything.
On Beyond the Pages.